This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so welcome to our living room. Welcome to my living room. Rob is here to talk about ego, and he's been studying Ipsalu Tantra, which maybe he'll explain to whoever ends up listening, and has some questions about ego, and it's a rich topic, so I agreed to have a conversation about it.
Great. Well, thank you for having me here in your beautiful home studio.
Yes.
I first wanted to acknowledge that I've been a student of yours for, 6-7 years, and have enjoyed learning from you all those years. And yet there's another opportunity to learn from you about ego. And the reason I brought this up was that I have been a student of Ipsalu Tantra for about 6 months now. And we're studying a chapter a month kind of a thing. And one of the chapters was on ego. And, I have an engineering background, so I don't really want to pretend I know about ego. But I have been on the path towards higher consciousness for 6 or 7 years now. And I'm thinking I got my stuff dialed. And my teacher said, I remarked about something, and she said, very kind of matter of fact, "Oh, that's ego talking." And I'm like, oh boy, all right, I have more to learn here. So I can't think of anyone I know who has the background of Eastern and Western philosophies that can really help me understand ego a bit more. And I have some questions on a piece of paper that I might refer to, and maybe together we can learn.
Together,
all of
yes,
us, we can learn about ego. How does that sound?
That sounds good. Of course, it's a huge topic, and as I said to Rob earlier, I'm not an expert. And sure, there are definitely some things to talk about related to ego. And the thing about ego is that there's so many different definitions, and so I think it would be helpful to start with like what you mean when you say ego,
right?
And then we can kind of expand from there.
Okay.
Because I don't think we're going to go back and talk about Freud and like id ego, super ego.
Well,
maybe.
I mean, there is a whole tradition about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you?
So the way I'm learning about ego through Ipsalu Tantra is that desires are fueled by ego. So mostly there are 3 desires, and I don't know if I have them memorized, but there's a desire for safety and security, a desire for like, look at me, I'm important, I'm successful, I'm whatever.
Right.
And I forget what the 3rd desire is. But there's this notion of once, from the Ipsus standpoint, once you let go of ego, which I'm not sure it's possible to let go of ego, but once one lets go of ego, lets go of desires, you can be fully present to higher consciousness. And so that's why I'm interested in ego, and why I'm, I think, on a long journey of learning about ego, and specifically how my ego either takes control of me, or how can I not take control of my ego, but understand and accept that part of me, and then make choices that are best for me and who I want to be in the future. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it does make sense. But one of the things I want to bring up is this. What I'm hearing a little bit is like right and wrong. Like do it the right way. Don't be attached. Don't have ego. Maybe don't have desires. Which we all have. Lots of desires. Yeah. So I guess I want to like take that out of the conversation.
Good.
Like there is no right and wrong way. And there are certainly plenty of teachers and plenty of paths that do see a right and wrong way, and that's okay. That's also not right or wrong, good or bad. But I try not to subscribe to so much of those polarities.
Thank you for the reminder. They talk about, the monks that go up into the mountains, and so they are not influenced by any desires. And Tantra, as I've been studying it, is for the working man and the working woman. And how do I live in a world where there are desires, and where there are all kinds of things out in the world, and how do I reach higher consciousness despite all of that, or with all of that happening? Maybe not despite, but with all of that happening.
Right. Yeah, so let's go to the psychological piece first.
Yep.
We all know ego, id, superego from Freud.
Let's say we don't.
Okay, and I'm not going to remember, my intro to psychology class, but we do know that from the psychological perspective that ego is a part of ourselves. It's kind of the central strength of ourselves, and it's necessary. We can't obliterate that definition of ego. Otherwise we wouldn't be here.
It's part of
it's
help
part
us
of,
survive.
Yeah, exactly. And some people that have some more extreme mental illness, we talk about ego strength and maybe more or less. And so we're not talking about that, just to be clear. I mean, it's good to say those words, but we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
But fast forward to, for example, internal family systems work, which I don't know if you know about.
A little bit.
A lot of people call it parts therapy or parts work or whatever, but that's a modality that I've studied and trained in and love. And it's very spiritual, because in internal family systems, the invitation is to notice what parts are present and what parts are driving decisions or just or driving actions. And you were mentioning a part that has a desire, or a part that, and the monk wants to climb the mountain and, sit. And when we do sit in meditation, we notice this voice and that voice and this irritation and that whatever. And all of those are parts of ourselves. And the work of internal family systems, not to go into it so deeply, but basically it supports us in identifying those different parts of ourselves and allowing space for them, but also to what's present when those parts aren't. The ego of Tezo joins us. When those parts aren't driving the bus, we are then with our self. We call it capital S self. This was all Dick Schwartz is the mastermind, the brilliance behind this way of looking at ourselves in the world. And so when we're able to decipher what are the parts that are acting, and then we come back to this central core, peaceful, calm, curious, compassionate part of ourselves. And that's when you talk about, the monks sitting on top of the mountaintop and just meditating, that's the space that they're in. That we could use that language to say they're in this just being. They're just being. Yeah. And they're in we can use the word source, we could use the word self with a capital S, and other words, we could use the word Buddha, self, Buddha, and we're in that space. And that speaks to some of what you're asking, because when we're in a part, somebody might see that as being in ego.
So let me just check my thinking, or my current learning, maybe is a better way to say it. So one way to interpret who I am is I'm a bunch of parts. And some of those parts might be, the word that comes to mind is fueled by my ego, but that may not be the right word. Fueled.
They're actually fueled by our pasts, by our life experience, by traumas, by childhood.
So the abandoned little boy, right?
Exactly.
So part of me may have desires. Part of me, for survival reasons, part of me want to be noticed and acknowledged. So I exist in the world for other people, and whatever those parts are.
Right.
And then I'm also hearing a little bit like I have a choice. I can hear or feel those parts, and in some regards, not have them rule my life. So, a part of the little boy, who didn't get enough to eat may want to eat more and more, but I can choose not to eat everything I see out in the world.
Once
As
it
an
comes into
example.
our awareness, yes, that's a good example.
Right.
Many people are aware of that part.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, I get it.
Yeah, so once it's in your awareness, then we can make a choice.
All right.
And we strengthen our awareness by when we're working with the parts, and then we can recognize like, oh, this is a part that tends to feel rejected because I was rejected by my mother as a child. It's a common, part that many of us have. And so then when we're engaging in the world, it's like, oh, I'm in that part, right? You can notice it's not easy, but it's definitely possible. And then, as you said, you can make a different choice. Like, oh, actually, I'm not being rejected right now. That person is just making a choice for themselves.
Right.
And,
Right.
and,
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm hearing is that ego is not good or bad. If anything, it's a thing from long time ago that helped keep us safe and secure as cavemen and women, and has been part of our existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so to just acknowledge it rather than I think someone said, be a master of it, don't let it be a master of you.
Right. But let's bring that to attachment to things, because I think that like if I'm listening with the right ears to the person who said to you, that's ego, I'm guessing that person felt an energy of something that has some weight to it, some attachment or something. Yeah. And so if we look at the way that we attach and sort of, I'm going to say kind of like hold something as a conclusion or as a definition, or it has to happen this way, or I want it this way, that we could say that we're in, I mean, you can use a lot of words for these things, right? I mean, somebody might say that that's ego. Someone else might say that's a part of you that wants something specific, or to control the outcome. And again, like that's important to have awareness, because then you can make a different choice. Right. But to say like, we're not monks sitting on top of a mountain. And as you said, and as one of my gurus from the Sonoma Ashram actually says, Baba Haraji, he's like, Tantra's for householders. Right. Like you started with, like, we're living here, right. In Boston, Massachusetts, we're not sitting on top of a mountain. Right. And we can choose to sit on top of a mountain and meditate. That would be a choice to make, or not choose it. Right. And so I think that we know that the struggle or the tension has to do with the attachment to outcome. Right. That's where people get tripped up, all of us. I want it to be this way. And then I would say we created a scenario where we're having, perhaps you might call it a reactive reality, like we're creating something in our lives because we are totally the creator of our lives. And we kind of set ourselves up for the outcome. I'm bringing in two concepts at the same time. We set ourselves up for the outcome not being what we want it to be, and then we have a reaction to that. Yeah. So it's the attachment to the outcome, and it's the attachment to trauma and drama. That we all have, like in our culture. Right. Our culture is all about trauma and drama. Right. Yeah, and all these great TV shows we love. Oh yeah. Right. We were just talking about one, right? It's like, oh my God, trauma and drama. Right. And that is not who we truly are. So if we go back to internal family systems and we think about self, we think about Buddha, we think about non-attachment, peace is in that space. Curiosity can be in that space. Wonder, a sense of wonder, relaxation, calm, I think I said already. Mm-hmm. And allowance, which I think in the way that your teacher was saying it, there's like, I feel like allowance is on the flip side. Flip side of the flip side of that's ego. Yeah. Because in that context, it's like I'm holding on to something. Right. Like I desire this. Right. But allowance is like, okay, ask a question.
Yeah.
Like this morning I woke up and still had my eyes closed, and I said to myself, what grand and glorious adventures am I going to have today?
Oh, there you go.
Now, here's one happening right now. And for me, that's one of the questions that I ask to be in allowance of just what is. And then I'm not attached. I'm not maybe an ego, someone might say.
Yeah.
But I'm open to like, look at it. It's sunny outside. I'm sitting here in Lexington, Massachusetts. My friend Rob is here. Like, I don't know I don't know what's coming next. I have no idea.
Yes.
And so to be in allowance is like this really spacious, open, like space that just invites anything and everything that is, there.
And so two things come to my mind. A fellow student of yours and a friend of mine, David Dooling, popularized a meme where it said something like, if you can let go of your expectations, you can find nirvana. Right. So
Nirvana
let go
being
of
peace.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. When you let go of expectations, you're right here now, and you can be present with whoever and whatever.
Yeah, and you can be grateful.
Right.
For that, because most of the time we're creating this dynamic where we're just annoyed that it's not happening the way we expected it, or we're angry or frustrated or sad, deeply sad, devastated, like any number of feelings, right?
So now if this part of me that has, the ego comes up and I have desires, I can not have my desires rule me.
Desires.
Yeah, right. Desires are healthy, and I can choose today in this moment to act on those desires, or choose in this moment to act on something else that might flow easy for me, or be light for me, or bring joy to me or to the world.
Yeah, but let's back up from that just even a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm recognizing a desire. You could give an example. Do you want to give an example?
The desires that I have are usually around food and romantic affection.
Okay, yeah, perfect. I would say 99.99999% of everybody listening would say the same.
Okay, good.
Food and great sex, yes. Okay. No. Okay.
Well, let's use the food one.
Let's use the food one. Sounds good. So I have a desire for pizza. Let's back up from that. We'll bring in some other tools, which is asking questions. So the first thing we could say is, that's interesting. That's an interesting point of view. I'm noticing a desire for pizza. The question before that is, body, are you hungry?
Right.
But even that has a lot of presumptive realities in it, because it's not, are you hungry? I didn't ask, are you hungry for food?
Right.
I asked, are you hungry?
Right.
Or what are you craving right now?
Right.
Are you desiring right now?
Right.
Is it food? Would be a second question.
Yeah.
So then we are attaching from maybe what your teacher would call ego, but we're also just allowing us to come back to ourselves, back to our bodies, by asking more questions, and we get to find out more information. Because, to me, desires are great to have. Like, we all have desires, and we all have things we require. Those are the words that I've shifted to.
I like that.
Yeah, desires and requirements. Desire doesn't have a mint, like desirement and requirements. That would sound better though.
Trademark.
Desires, right? Desires and requirements.
Right.
And so, what are you desiring right now? That's a really good information to have. But where is it coming from, and what is it truly? I mean, those are the questions that I would ask.
Yeah, thank you.
To get.
Yeah, my practice has been mostly around what am I feeling right now, instead of what do I need to take care of later, or what do I, I tend to live in the future. And so the practices that I have through Ipsilo particularly help me be present now. And then it's okay, if I'm desiring this, is that really what I'm desiring? In the case of food,
Mhm.
is it that I'm hungry, or is it emotional hunger?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
am I seeking a reward, or
Mhm.
a punishment, or
Mhm.
and what's behind that?
Right.
And
right,
then I kind of
right.
dig a little bit further to be, okay, I want to be present with that feeling, whatever that is.
Mhm.
Well, I'm actually feeling lonely now, or bored, or whatever.
Mhm.
And what's about that?
Right.
And I find that to be a useful tool for me right now to just be present.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is
Exactly.
what I'm working on.
Yeah. We're all
Yeah.
working on that.
And even in the case of true desires, it's like, okay, I want to be present in that true desire
Mhm.
to be, I mean, is there nothing that more than to have someone you're having dinner with that really enjoys the food you're eating with them,
Mhm.
as an
Mhm.
example,
Right.
or a partner you're really enjoying and being connected with.
Right.
And so good, I can see now that ego is part of all of us.
Mhm.
It's going to be around for all of us.
Yes.
And it will have us have desires, and these are all healthy, normal things.
Mhm.
The what to bring to it is what's behind it.
Yeah. To ask questions.
Yeah, and
about
what
what's
can we learn
behind it.
from it,
Mhm.
and then what do we want to do with that,
Mhm.
rather than just no impulse control and
Mhm.
do whatever we want to do.
Right.
Super.
Yeah.
This has been really helpful.
Yeah. It's
Thank you.
really helpful for me too.
Yeah.
Great
Now,
conversation.
do you have any workshops or conference or anything that you're working on these days that you want people to know about?
So many good things coming up. Right now, let's see, what's the next thing coming up? That's a good question. It's a good question. I'm working on a workshop called Heal Your Heart and Come to Love. I'm playing with this, taking out the word back. Because what are we really going back to? Which is a whole other conversation to have.
Yeah.
We'll have in the future. But heal your heart and come to love, because we've all had heartbreaks, numerous heartbreaks in our past. That's just what it is to be human and here. And how do we do that healing on all the levels? You know, emotional, spiritual, on the level of the brain, very much so. And then come to love. And the love being, you know, I didn't use the word, we were talking about, you know, source and self and peace, and like that's love. Also, who we truly are. Yeah. So stay tuned for more about that. Yes, it's going to be amazing.
Well, thank you again for helping me and continue to be my teacher.
Well, thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.